Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Lance from NerfThis.TV. Today we're having a look at this. This is the TESmart KVM Switch with 4 HDMI in and 1 out, and it's full 4K 60. I'm going to be looking at this as respect to somebody that wants to use it for specifically streaming, because I think it might be a fair enough decent solution for not just people that want to use it to have multiple consoles and that going to one TV, but you know, you can do the same thing and have a gaming PC, a couple of consoles, maybe 3 consoles all connected to one switch going to one monitor, or in what we're going to test with here is possibly going from the switch itself to a capture card, like a Elgato. I have an Elgato Pro in my PC, so we're going to try and connect it all up to that and see what it does. The unboxing of this device is fairly boring, so I'm not going to go through that with you, but in the box you get the device, you get 2 of these cables that have a USB cable attached to an HDMI, which is compatible to obviously plug into the switch and into whatever PC / Macintosh / Unix box, whatever you're plugging the other side into, and of course a power supply for it and a nice little nifty remote control, and that's really it. I'm not too sure why we only got 2 cables when it's a 4-port device, because I know the 2 in 1 out device also comes with 2 cables, so I would have thought there would have been 4, but not serious. Now the way that you work with this type of thing is obviously it allows you to plug in multiple PCs or Macintoshes or consoles or pretty much anything that uses an HDMI output. And if you want to use a mouse and keyboard with one mouse and keyboard with all of these devices, you know, if it's like a Mac or a PC and a Unix box, then you plug in the USB adapter into the back with your HDMI for your, obviously your audio out, your video out, sorry. And then of course on your PC side or your Mac side, you plug in your HDMI and your USB cable. This will allow you whatever keyboard and mouse that you plug into the KVM switch to be used on both of those devices. Once you've got all of your devices plugged in, you can then plug in, if you can see at the back here, let me turn it around so that it's actually orientated correctly. You'll see on the back here is a couple of USB ports where you can plug in a keyboard and a mouse. I have tested this with some dongles for, in particular, mice and keyboards. I use this little, what is this? This is I actually can't even remember what mouse this is, but it's one of these customizable gaming mice, and this dongle seems to work quite fine. Generally, if you're going to be using any of these ports for gaming, you'll want to plug in a USB keyboard directly into that, and the USB mouse you can choose. And then of course you have your HDMI output. This will go to whatever monitor you happen to be using. Anything up to a 4K 60 Hz screen is supported. I did notice that it doesn't do downscaling to 1440p, so you're basically limited to either 4K in 30, 60, etc., or to 1080p in 60. The other port that it has is the nice little audio out here, which is quite good for basically feeding that to, if you, in my case, I want to test it for streamers, then this will go into your Go XLR or whatever the case is, whatever device you're using for mixing, that'll go into that. But I'm going to plug it directly into a Go XLR Mini, so that basically any audio fed in via HDMI into any of these ports will now automatically go out to the Go XLR. I'm not going to, for this test, be using the keyboard and mouse. I have tested it and it does work. There's a little bit of a delay when you switch from device to device. On the front, obviously, you have a power switch to switch it on and off, and then you can see any USB devices that are online, it says here, but basically what that means is that it can pick up the input from the USB plugged into that PC or that Mac or whatever the case is. Then the little light will show here that it's active, and then this will be basically whatever device that you've switched to, that's the device that's now showing out of the output. And it's got a manual selector. It's also got a little IR connector for your nifty little remote.
A few moments later.
Okay, so now I've got everything set up and I've got a couple of different views. I've got my phone over here recording the KVM switch so that you can see everything that I do here. I have a camera over this side that's looking at my monitors over here, and as you can see I already have the Mac showing on the screen as it's already set to the first port over here. And you can either switch between, obviously clicking the switch, and there's a Google TV, right? So you can also use the remote control, obviously. So that was 2, and you got 3. We've got the Apple TV. Oh no, actually we've got the Nintendo Switch. Now the Nintendo Switch obviously is coming through at full HD, whereas the Google, you'll see, is actually coming through, let's see, it's through full 4K. And this also supports, if you go over here and we go to the settings, you'll see that it actually supports HDR, which is quite nice. And then back to the Macintosh at 1. It's also coming through at 4K. You can see the second monitor over there. It's actually the main monitor for the Mac, and then this is a secondary monitor. And then of course we can switch through to the Apple TV. This particular one that I've got plugged in here is only the full HD Apple TV. It's not the 4K, so it's going to come through at full HD obviously. But it's nice simply for this type of thing. So even if you're using it for media or for switching between PCs, maybe you've got one specific monitor that you want to use for both work and gaming, etc., etc., and it's either full HD or 4K, then you can do that using this. Having this and it's working, as you can see, pretty flawlessly is just one of the things that you can use it for. And for business side of things, that's probably, you know, pretty good, especially with today we're working from home and all these lovely things. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug the output of the switcher from here to a Elgato capture card in my PC.
A few moments later.
Okay, so over here we have it connected to a 4K TV, the same one again. 4K monitor, and then over this side I've actually got just capturing the screen of the Elgato capture utility, and as you can see we are running at full HD, and this is the Nintendo Switch passing through, which means that you can obviously stream that quite okay. So let's try switching. What are we on? We're on 3. So let's go back to the Mac, because I remember there being a bit of an issue when it switches to 4K. No, there it's actually coming through quite okay. But it's actually not coming through at 4K, it's coming through at full HD. If you actually see up top here, I don't know if you can see that, maybe we can expand it a bit. The source is full HD 60. And as you can see over here, the resolution is quite terrible because it's a 4K monitor and you're pushing through full HD signal, so not great. Remember that this wouldn't be a problem if you were using it for streaming, because obviously streams are generally at full HD 60, so this could still work for what we're trying to do here. It just seems to be a slight incompatibility between the actual switch and this Elgato card itself, because I've never been able to get it to work with this, or I've got another Elgato card in here as well, which it doesn't work with either. It works, but it only will do up to full HD. And it gets very confused when you push in a 4K signal through the KVM. Again, there we go. This is just a full HD signal, so I don't know why that's... No, I'm lying to you, that's a 4K signal. Okay, I don't think I'm going to drag this out very much longer. What we can decide for this is that if you're buying this to physically do what that says on the box, so to switch between PCs, Macs, Linux boxes, consoles, etc., and you're plugging it directly into a source device like a TV or a monitor, and that it's going to do exactly what you expect it to do. You can use it to switch between different PCs and monitors with a KVM functionality, so that you've got one keyboard, one mouse, and you can use it for all devices that you connect it to, and you can then switch it to a media device or a console and carry on playing like normal. The only downside with what I was trying to see if it would do is if you're feeding in a 4K signal or higher, a 4K signal, sorry, or lower, like a 1440p, not full HD, it does seem to have a bit of a problem with that. But if you're feeding in a signal that's full HD, as you can see by the Macintosh and the Nintendo Switch, you can then plug it into a capture card and it seems to behave as you would expect it to. It understands it as a full HD signal and it'll pump it through the card, and you can still push it out to a monitor if your card is a pass-through. So for full HD streaming, absolutely no problem with this. If you are trying to push through a 4K signal, that's where it seems to fall over a little bit. But I'm going to keep testing, and then what I'll do is, if I find anything, a fix for any of these things, I will put it in the comments below so that you can see any updates and that I have on the device. But I think for what you are buying and for what it is, it does what it says it's going to do. It's not the ideal streaming device, which is what I'd hoped. Sorry about the fairly lengthy video, and if you made it all the way through to this, thank you very much for watching. If you did make it this far, please like, subscribe, click the little bell icon so that you can see any further weird and wonderful things that I test, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye bye.